Hi everyone, Rethany Runtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And it is time for a review of the new Bad Bunny record, Yo Hago Lo Que Me Da La Gana. This is the latest LP from Puerto Rico's own Bad Bunny. It's the man's second studio album, finally following up his debut that dropped in 2018, coming right after the levee break on the massive wave of Latin trap that has been dominating since the late 2010s. I will say though, I don't think his debut LP was him putting his best artistic foot forward. Lots of very formulaic trap beats on this one with a slight Latin twist, topped by Bad Bunny's awkward, bellowing voice, which all made for a very one-dimensional listen. Not only that, but the sound of this LP kind of melted into the greater American trap landscape, which is kind of disappointing for a record that has such a far-reaching international appeal. So given how much room for improvement there was on Por Siempre, I went into Yo Hago hoping for anything to be better, really just anything. Even though trap music still has a pretty significant influence on the 20 tracks here, Bad Bunny does a pretty nice reframe, leaning much more on reggaeton than he did on his last record, which may be a bit of a reach for some American listeners, but it's not like the genre hasn't had waves of popularity over here before. And plus, on many of these tracks, Bad Bunny does for reggaeton what artists like Travis Scott or Future have done for trap, meaning there's more of an emphasis on sound and texture, vibe. Some tracks are subtly psychedelic too, whether you're talking about the track La DIFICIL, which features a lot of shimmering reverb around the track synths, a great chorus melody too, and then there's the dramatic piano chords and ethereal synth leads on the Daddy Yankee aided La Santa, which I don't really care for how Yankee's vocals overtake the track. They're so much louder than Bunny's. I won't deny though, they do have complementary styles and his performance is pretty bold. Bad Bunny and Anuel AA later on the record seem like a better match though. There's also the really thick, heavenly layers of synthesizer on Solia, and also the very stark and hard-hitting combination of drums and loud, squawking synths on Yo Perreo Sola. We also get some very ghostly, dystopian, throbbing synthesizers on BICHIYAL, which honestly sound like a horror movie. The click-clack percussion, the guns going off in the track too, it's like a combination of reggaeton and horrorcore. Now lyrically the track doesn't quite go that far, but there are some allusions to darker ideas and themes here too, so it does at least fit with the theme and the sound of the music. Meanwhile, the trap-flavored cuts on this record aren't nearly as shy with their Latin influences as they were on Por Siempre. Whether it's Hablamos with its sticky woodwind melodies and very warm bass line. Surprisingly, there's an emo-ish guitar breakdown in the second half, which eventually leads us to an epic rock-inspired finish. The flows throughout the song are really good too. There's also the intro track, whose trap beat is backed with these cutesy little keyboard licks that sound like I'm listening to Latin elevator jazz. It's very fun. It's very playful, sets kind of the random, unpredictable mood of the track list overall, and certainly fits the title of the album too, which essentially translates to I do what I want. And this is a very I'm going to do whatever I want to do type of record. Take the absolute multiplicity of sounds, styles, voices, and aesthetics going into SAFAERA, which is essentially like the sicko mode of reggaeton. There's even a very bold, plucky synth melody in the second leg that sounds like it's a take on the same synth lick on Missy Elliott's Get Your Freak On. And dare I say the singing on this record has gotten a bit better too. It's more dynamic, it's more authoritative, the processing seems to have eased up a little bit, though much of the time Bad Bunny is still like gasping for breaths in between bars, which I still find pretty off-putting. But seriously, here Bad Bunny is sounding more like a singer and less like a foghorn. Now, there are a few more enjoyable outliers and surprises in the track list, namely the reggae-infused A Tu Merced, also the pretty intimate guitar number at the very end that sees Bad Bunny essentially thanking his fans for bringing him where he is and sticking with him since the beginning. But despite the noticeable improvements there are on this record, I do have some issues, namely with tracks in the track list that work with pretty much the same underwhelming formula that numerous duds of Por Siempre did. I don't deny the vocals, the production, production and the mixing on Vete or La Zona or Que Malo are all better than many tracks off of Siempre. But they're still pretty much reverb-soaked, generic trap and reggaeton without much in the way of any variation. Tunes that just don't stand out that strongly either. If this is a direction you have to go in, like, take your 2 or 3 best songs in this vein and leave it at that. Meanwhile, the track Ignorantes sounds like a hit in the worst possible way. It's melodramatic, glossy, atmospheric as hell, overly sentimental. I feel like I'm just listening to a bunch of American pop cliches play out, but with a different language and a different beat. However, there's not much more on this album that's more ill-conceived than some of the refrains on P fucking R. So yeah, there are a chunk of tracks on this record that I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to call filler. They don't quite sound that low effort, but they are working with a very tiresome and redundant formula that ends up making the track list sound very one-dimensional in some respects. Overall, I like this Bad Bunny record quite a bit. There's a lot to celebrate in terms of the vocals, the production, the versatile array of ways it revises Latin trap and reggaeton. Definitely a marked improvement over the last record, if only it were boiled down to its best tracks though. Still, what I will say is the future of Latin trap and reggaeton is here, and Bad Bunny is helping to bring us there. Feeling a light to decent 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video for you to check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Bad Bunny, forever.